and girls. It's your boys, Lockdown, back again for episode 10, question mark?
Think
Something
so.
like that.
Yeah. Episode 10.
Episode
Yeah.
10.
We're in the double digits.
Oh, shoot. We are making our way up. It is playoff Saturday, opening round of the playoffs. NFL playoffs start today. How are you guys feeling about... We're going to get into some news next before we get into our predictions for the show today. What are you guys feeling? Are you stoked for the playoffs or what?
I'm pumped.
I'm excited, but I'm getting worried about my pick, dude. I'm not gonna lie. My Cowboys pick has been stressing me out.
It's a toss-up, man. I know we were just saying before the show started that the whole playoffs this year is a toss-up. Anything could happen.
Everything is unpredictable.
There's not a set pick that's like, oh, they're definitely getting, because there's a big weakness in every team. So we got a lot to dive into, so we're not gonna fool around. But we want to get into some news that broke this week after a lot of to be honest, BS that went down. Antonio Brown reportedly wants out of Pittsburgh after getting deactivated in the season finale last week due to kind of misbehavior that would have kicked him out of pretty much, any other team. What was he?
He didn't show up for practice.
What was the story behind it? He didn't show up for practice. That's right.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The training staff, he wasn't injured. He just didn't show up for practice. Pretty much no call, no showed his job for 3 days straight. Showed up on Sunday and was just like, yeah, I'm going to play. And Mike Tomlin was like, yeah, no, you're not.
Right.
And
it's good that Tomlin's got to view him as any other player at that point.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're going to skip practice? Okay. You're not playing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the part that bothered me was that Mike Tomlin, initially, he said last week that Brown's knee was feeling uncomfortable. That's why he didn't come to practice. So it's like Mike Tomlin's been covering up for the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what Tomlin's always done, man. It's like he'll deal with someone's like attitude until he can replace them. Now they have Juju Smith-Schuster. So now he doesn't really mind benching Antonio Brown because they can still win a football game because they have a guy like Juju.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like they don't have anybody at wide receiver anymore.
Right.
So
right.
that's kind of the way that Tomlin. That's the way he's kind of always been, though. So
he has no control. He never has had control of the locker room, and this is just a continued issue that's showing again with Le'Veon, Ben Roethlisberger. His whole career has had issues with the locker room since Tomlin's been at the helm. But now Antonio Brown. So this morning, Ian Rappaport reported that the Steelers are going to be open to hear trades for Antonio, and at least they want a first-round pick at the minimum. So look, so I heard I forgot his name, but I heard a reporter this week say that, Antonio Brown should not be an all-pro wide receiver. He's no longer in the top 20 wide receivers. I thought that was a little ridiculous because
he's amazing.
Whether he's a diva or not, he is amazing. He's a great wide receiver that any team logistically would want to have on their team, minus all the locker room drama. Maybe, and I know we're looking at it almost as if, too, that this could just be a Pittsburgh issue with Antonio. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is he a Class A diva anywhere he goes, or do you think it's just an issue he has with the Steelers?
No, I think the last 2 weeks have been really showing of his character. Ryan Clark kind of called him out on ESPN.
Right.
And he called him an Uncle Tom, which is kind of like a slang racist term that they used to use back in like the 30s and 40s. Now reports are coming out that all his years in Pittsburgh, whenever he doesn't get the ball, he's over there throwing tantrums. Right. He has 2 receptions a game and he's throwing tantrums. It's kind of now coming out. That's just kind of who he is. And he's so good before that, like, people just tried to downplay it. But I think if you're Pittsburgh, you got to deal with the guy. It depends on what you can get for him, obviously. The 49ers, I'm hearing the 49ers are like pretty big trade targets for this guy. They need a guy. They need a target other than George Skittle, as Chris calls it.
Yeah.
George Kittle. They need another target. He's a fantastic tight end, but they need a one at the wide receiver position when Jimmy G comes back. They have a lot of assets they can trade for Antonio Brown, and then all of a sudden now they have a legit offense. But we'll see what they do.
Yeah, wait till Jimmy G gets healthy, and they could be really good. I've heard that OBJ might go to San Francisco too.
Talks, yeah. Which I mean,
I don't see it happening, but
the Giants are kind of. I heard reports that Eli is going to be out, which I'm kind of hoping for. I've heard reports that OBJ is going to so I don't know. Like at this point, I think it's that point in the season where we're getting a lot of talks about what's potential offseason transitions and changes, but it's not actually going to happen until after the Super Bowl. So it's just like that waiting period right now of kind of figuring out what the offseason is going to look like, and it's going to be crazy, especially because after Black Monday, famously known as honestly one of the worst days in the NFL, we had, was it 8 head coaching firings?
I think there were 6, but there were 2 jobs that were vacant before that. So there are currently 8 openings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
8 openings going into the offseason.
Crazy.
I don't have the list of teams in front of me, but they're including the Jets, Cardinals, Broncos, Packers, Dolphins. The list, the 8 teams total. What are your guys' general thoughts on the openings going into the offseason and the firings of the head coaches?
My team better get a good coach.
I think that was a good. I think most of them are good firings. I think Vance Joseph should have been out of there. The only one I struggle with is Adam Gase. Really, I mean, he's done a fantastic job with what he was given. He had like no talent, and then he would go into New England and he would challenge them, and then he would beat New England in Miami with literally no talent, no offensive line, no secondary, and he would go in there and he would scheme it up and he would beat them. And I think he's done a fantastic job as the coach. I don't think they're going to do any better. I think they're going to bring somebody in. They're going to be even worse because of the Miami Dolphins and they're a bad franchise.
Yeah, I'm excited for Adam Gase. Wherever he gets signed, like you're saying, he didn't really get the chance. Was it 2 or 3 years he was with Miami?
He was 3 years.
He was with 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
He never really got a good look or a good shot, and he had some good wins, but he never had the team. So I think he had an interview with Green Bay, and he had
like 3 teams at least.
With I forgot the other 2 teams.
I think it was. Let's see, the Cardinals.
Oh, Green Bay would be great for him. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I know. I was excited when I saw
Cardinals
that.
and the Jets are other teams that are interested in him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cardinals would be great too. He gets to work with Josh Rosen. He needs some help. But
we've seen what he's done with
Green
Peyton,
Bay,
with Peyton and with Tim Tebow. I think he was with him, and I can't remember who he was with. But when he was with the Broncos, he was amazing. And then he was good in Chicago. He helped with Jay Cutler. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's proven that he's really good in this league. So wherever he goes, I think he'll be successal. I don't know what the Dolphins were thinking. Their front office is just all messed up.
I mean, it's been like this since like
the worst in the league.
Freaking 90s. Yeah. It's always been like that in Miami.
Yeah.
Another interesting team to be looking at is the Jets coming into the offseason, because this is a team with a quarterback in Sam Darnold and honestly a defense that wasn't that great but didn't get the clout they deserved at times. This really is like I think it's a decent team that just had the bad coaching under Todd Bowles. So I think kind of similar. I mean, it's hard to compare the two because they're 2 different quarterbacks, but you look at Green Bay, right? It's kind of like the dream spot for a coach right now with a guy like it. Pretty much you're just filling in a void of, let me just give Rodgers a good scheme and we should be good, right? That's why I look at like Josh McDaniels. If he were to get into Green Bay, I think it'd be perfect for Rodgers. Similar with the Jets, you get a moldable and young quarterback in Sam Darnold who has probably the most potential out of this past draft class. That should be an exciting role for a head coach coming in, So.
Yeah, looking at the head coaches that they're interested in or that they've already interviewed, it seems like every guy that's on their list is an offensive-minded coach. There's there's only one guy that's defensive, and it's Chris Richard from the Cowboys, defensive backs coach.
Yeah, he might get a head coaching job this offseason.
Yeah,
he's a great coach.
He was good in Seattle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But honestly, my only worry about the head coach search is that if somebody signs Hugh Jackson as a head coach, I'm gonna freak out. Greg Williams took his team that looked like garbage and made it a very good football team. And that alone should be like, okay, yeah, Hugh Jackson shouldn't be a head coach. Because Greg Williams isn't even like he's never even been a head coach.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, that should tell you a lot about Hugh and how incompetent he is at the job. Really,
he's better off as a coordinator, for sure.
If the Bengals sign him, I'm gonna freak out.
They're
on
gonna
the
give
show.
Hugh Jackson or Vance Joseph. I'm telling you,
Oh
it's gonna be one of the
probably
two.
happening.
Freak out.
I would not be shocked at all.
It's probably going to happen. Not looking forward to it.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Bengals fans.
Yeah. You guys have any other notes on head coaching?
The Broncos news. They've interviewed 3 people so far. Got 2 more to go.
Okay.
They have Chuck Pagano, Zach Taylor from the Rams. It's only 35. It'd be interesting. Mike Munchak, Vic Fangio from the Bears, and Brian Flores from the Pats.
Brian Flores has been getting a lot of phone calls recently.
Yeah.
He's had at least 5 interviews.
Some reason, I just have a feeling he's going to be another Vance Joseph to me. I don't know. I mean, he's been in the Pats system for a while, so it's different, but I don't know.
There's potential for it.
I'm thinking it's going to be either Fangio, Pagano, or Zach Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fangio might get that because he's one of those like hard nosed like old school guys.
So. He's 60 too,
exactly.
so he's and Zach Taylor at this point, with all the new RPO run pass option and all the new offensive schemes that are going on, it may be better for us to have a new, fresh mind, young guy in there. But I don't know. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Hopefully, Elway makes a good decision there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, a lot of big head coaching news. We're gonna watch that unfold. I'm telling you, this offseason is gonna be crazy.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait.
A lot of big changes coming. But that's in the future. Let's look at the now. We have 2 games today at 4:30 and 8, and tomorrow at 1 and 4. So we're gonna get into some playoff talk. Let's get started with the 4:30 game today on ESPN. Colts versus Texans. What are your guys' thoughts on this one?
You already know my thoughts. Listen, the Colts are actually a really solid football team. I've underestimated them all year. Yeah. They have a lot of really great young players, especially on that defense. That team is a good team, man.
They really are.
And Andrew Luck, even against the Titans, still made the mistakes he made. But at the end of the day, his team was able to make up for it. And he was able to make up for it, really. But I don't know. I think Deshaun's going to take this. I think the Texans are going to – I think Andrew Luck's going to make 1 or 2 of the mistakes he usually does. I think the Texans are actually going to be able to capitalize on those mistakes, and I think they're going to be able to pull away. I think it'll be kind of low, though. I think it'll be like 24-20.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with.
So Matt's got the Texans. Chris, what about you?
Well, I looked at some stats, and so far in their 2 matchups this year, they combined to score – it was 58-58. They were tied this year. That's how close it was. And both road teams have won. Indianapolis, their offensive line has been amazing this year. 18 sacks allowed. It's like really good. Houston, 62.
That's a note that I had over the all season. Like you said, Andrew Luck has been sacked 18 times. In the last 4 weeks, Deshaun Watson has been sacked 21 times. In 4 weeks, 21 times. That's something to consider. That I believe personally that the Colts offensive line can stop the Texans pass rush. They're one of the best lines in football. Honestly, actually, Chris, finish your point because I have a couple notes to say. So finish your point.
Okay. Yeah. So to me, if Houston can get after Luck, I think they have a chance. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think Andrew Luck's going to have a good game. T.Y. Hilton has had a lot of success against Houston in his past. I think he'll have a big day. So I got the Colts. It'll be close. Thinking like, I don't know, it'll be low scoring too, like 23-17 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What do you think, Zach?
So, yeah, so things that I've been looking at is the Texans as a whole have playoff experience. The Colts don't. So that's something to consider. Like as a whole, I mean, you got Andrew Luck who's had that one game against Kansas City. You guys remember that a couple of years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I just saw that 45-44 or something
what
like
a game.
That was crazy.
Andrew Luck and T.Y. are probably the only people that have decent playoff experience. The rest of the team as a whole is pretty young. But on the flip side, this is a bad matchup for Houston, at least from what I've watched and what I've been looking into. Like I said already, the Colts offensive line, I believe they can stop the 3 big men in Houston, mainly because of the scheme that gets run defensively. their pass defense is not good. They've shown periods where they they could be lethal but I think Andrew Luck is going to tear him up tomorrow or today, this afternoon, whatever. They don't carry great man-to-man corners. The Texans are more talented than the Colts as a whole, but like I said, their scheme holds them back defensively from reaching. I just see too much. Like they try to get too creative on defense instead of if you get like Clowney and Watt to just rush the front and trust them to do it. They try to spice it up a little bit, throwing in all these like zone coverages that don't end up working. So who knows? Maybe they might switch it up. I think the run game is going to struggle today against Indianapolis. It's something they've been trying to get pushed on the last couple of weeks. I think they're going to struggle with the Colts. Their secondary is really solid solid secondary, but Hopkins is going to be an issue. He's proved it all. Hopkins is the guy too, where he doesn't need the spotlight to prove that he's good. Like he didn't drop a single pass this year. There's a stat that came out. It was like
115 catches.
115 catches, 0 drops. He's gonna show up today. So with that being said, like I know it sounds like I'm trashing on the Texans right now, but something to remember that Matt already said: Deshaun Watson. At any point, he can become the X factor. There is potential for Watson to absolutely tear apart this Colts defense. At the end of the day, this is one of the hardest picks for the wild card for me because they've played each other, twice already, got 2 decent matchups. I'm going to go with the Colts today. I think the offensive line is going to be a factor, but it's also hard to count. Like if we're going into the fourth quarter and it's a 21-17 game, you might have to go with Houston right there because Deshaun Watson is going to Watson all over that defense. So
he becomes the best player in football in the fourth quarter
easily.
Like that, he just is. That's the way it is.
So we'll see. All in all, it's an awful matchup for Houston, but Deshaun Watson could turn it around. So I'm
really looking forward to that one.
And it's great because usually the first afternoon game of the playoffs always features Houston every single year they're in it,
and it's always on ESPN.
Always on ESPN, and it's usually a pretty crappy matchup. It's just not really. I'm not schematically, but I mean, just like no one really likes the first game. But this one's interesting because we know what to expect, but we don't know what to expect. So it's a toss up. We'll see.
Knowing the Texans' luck, I fully expect Deshaun Watson to like tear his ACL in practice this morning.
Or tripping down the stairs.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that.
All right, let's move on. Seahawks and Cowboys tonight on Fox. My favorite matchup of the weekend by far. I'm so stoked for Seattle and Dallas. Matt, what do you think about your boys tonight?
My boys. It's gonna be a close one. The teams are built very similarly. They have very similar schemes. They want to hold the ball. They want to run the football. Seahawks actually do it better. They have more total rushing yards than the Cowboys do. The Cowboys
they have the most in the league.
Yeah, but the Cowboys are the leading rusher. So I mean, I guess it's a trade-off there. I think when it comes down to, honestly, it's going to come down to the defenses in this game. Everyone wants to say it's going to come down to Dak and Russell, but at the end of the day, I think Russell's going to give you a big drive at the end. It's what he always does.
Yep.
And so I think it's going to be and do I think Dak Prescott's going to be able to lead a game-winning drive against the Seahawks defense in the playoffs? Probably not. So I think it'll come down to if the defense can stop Russell at the end of the game. And I don't know. It's a tough one. I do think since the Seahawks are not at home, they're going to lose. Mm-hmm. That's kind of been the case with them through their entire franchise. If they're on the road, if they struggle. If they're at home, they dominate. So I'm still going with the Cowboys. I think them playing in Jerry World is going to basically be the X factor, but it'll be close. It'll be really close.
Yeah.
I like your points there about the defenses and the run game and stuff. It's going to be really key that both teams run the ball well and the defenses play well. But to me, Russell Wilson in the playoffs you can't really discount that. Like he's proven he's just been really good when it comes to this time of year. I haven't really seen Dak play all that much in the playoffs. He doesn't have much experience, but even so, Prescott against the Seahawks has not been great. I think in week 3 he got sacked 5 times, and he's had 4 picks in his career against the Seahawks in like 2 games. So I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I do think it's going to be very close. I think Zeke will have a really good game. I think Seahawks will run the ball well. It'll be like a 3-point game or something like that, but it'll be tough. In Jerry's world, that crowd's gonna be rocking.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this game.
I want you guys to consider this.
Oh boy.
And I couldn't tell you the year. I don't remember the year. But a couple years in Dak Prescott's only playoff game against the Green Bay Packers.
Oh yeah.
His only playoff game. It was a game overshadowed by one catch from Rodgers to Jared Cook. You guys remember that catch?
Yeah.
That catch that literally sent me through my sliding glass door. I couldn't believe it. The Green Bay Packers won that game.
Was that still a catch from Des Bryant?
That was before.
Oh, it wasn't that game? Oh, okay, that's right.
But yes, it was a catch. Something to consider. Dak Prescott's stats in that game in Lambeau Field: 302 passing yards, 63% completion rating, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think we're going to see playoff Dak again tonight. I think the Seattle defense has a lot of good, but they're a little beat up. They let up a lot of points, and they struggle to stop momentum when it gets rolling. Momentum tonight being Zeke Elliott. I think I know it sounds like I'm fanboying right now, but I'm a big Dak Prescott fan. I think he's going to come in clutch. He's going to prove a lot of people wrong tonight. Seattle on the road is an issue, as we talked about. On offense, the Seahawks, they want to enforce the run. It's what they've been doing all year. But this Dallas defense, this is my second point on the Cowboys. This Dallas defense is about to be an issue. I think they're going to be an issue for the teams in this round, the Seahawks this round, and the team next round should probably be New Orleans if they win, right?
I think
Dallas.
Probably the Rams. If the Bears
depends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, either way, they're going to be an issue over the next couple of weeks. But today, I think they're going to shut down the run in Seattle. I think they're going to shut them down. And once you shut down the run in Seattle, you're forced to give Russell Wilson the ball to make big plays in the air, which sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to look at tonight. It's going to be a close one. Dallas has proved it all year. It's close games every single time. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. It's going to be a primetime matchup that goes down to the last minute. You can't count out Russell. But listen, those are my 2 points tonight. Playoff Dak is coming, and this defense is going to be an issue. I've got Dallas winning 31-28.
You made a really good point about the momentum in the game. When the Seahawks played the 49ers, they looked like they were in control of the game. All of a sudden, Mullins to George Kittle for a big touchdown. Mm-hmm. They go 3 and out. The Niners scored again. The Seahawks go 3 and out. The Niners drive the ball. The Seahawks go 3 and out. Yep. So this happens when you're a team that bases your entire scheme on running the football, and on first and second down you get -2 yards running because the team just puts 8 guys in the box. All of a sudden now you have Doug Baldwin and others at wide receiver, and you have Russell make a play, please. And it's tough, when you only have one target and everybody else kind of bad. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean that's a good point. If the Cowboys can get off to a hot start, especially with Dak playing like he did last week, that's why that was a big deal, because he was playoff Dak last week. Yep. So if he can continue that with Zeke back in the lineup, it might be bad. If the Seahawks have a rough first half, they can't run the football very well. The Cowboys drive the ball down the field. They could get out to an early lead. You made a good point. I didn't think about that, but
Russell Wilson's going to have to make some big plays if they're going to win too. I mean, he's probably the best deep ball thrower in the NFL right now, accuracy wise. So if he can make a few plays down the field to Baldwin or Tyler Lockett or whoever, that'll give him the edge. If he doesn't, I think the Cowboys will probably get him. But I still stick with the Seahawks. Close game, 3-point game.
It's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Great decision making to make that the Saturday night game. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Sunday afternoon at 1, got the Chargers and the Ravens in the second matchup of the season for them. The last one was a great game. It was a very good game last time that Baltimore took away. What do you get, Matt? What do you think? This is going to be. I'm curious about this matchup, but what do you think about Chargers versus Ravens today?
So Chargers versus Ravens, reports are coming out that Hunter Henry is going to be healthy and available for this game against the Ravens.
Right, I forgot about that. Yeah.
There's no definite status yet. This game is on Sunday.
Sunday at 1. Yep.
Yeah, it's on Sunday at 1, so we'll know tomorrow. We'll either do tonight or tomorrow for sure if he's going to play.
Gosh, that'd be interesting.
That's huge. I mean, that when it comes down to it, they need a target. I mean, Antonio Gates is still there, but he's a shell of what he used to be, man.
Yeah.
He's not very fast. He can't get separation at the tight end position. All of a sudden now you give a guy like Hunter Henry who can pretty much beat every linebacker in man coverage. You can't man him up. He's too good.
Mm-hmm.
So that you have to put a safety on him, which stops your ability to, which hurts your ability to stop the run game, and it just changes the scheme a little bit. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to matter. Lamar Jackson and this Baltimore Ravens team they are hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see that. I want the Chargers to win. I love Phillip Rivers. They've had such a great year, but dang it, the Ravens are so good.
Yeah.
And they're rallied behind Lamar Jackson. They have a fantastic defense. They'll stop the run. They stop the pass. They get turnovers. They don't allow points. This is a nightmare matchup for anybody. They can very easily get to the Super Bowl this year. I'm going Ravens.
The Ravens are arguably the most complete team in the AFC right now.
Mm-hmm.
Offense, defense, special teams, everywhere. But yeah, rematch from week 16 or week 15. Well, one of those weeks. It was a couple weeks ago. I agree with Matt. It's gonna come down. I mean, Lamar Jackson first playoff game. I know he's amped. He's ready to go, and it's gonna be a matter of if they can run the ball, if the Chargers can stop them. And the Chargers are basically playing a 10 a.m. game, and with their bodies are set for a 10 a.m. game going cross country. It's gonna be tough for them to win. I got the Ravens in this one by 7 points, 26-19.
I think something to consider for this game. Again, this is another. I mean, all these games are going to be my favorite matchups this week, but this is going to be an interesting game. I think the winner of this game probably makes it to the conference title game. To be honest, so something to consider, and the reason I say that is because of this. In the last 3 games, the Chargers have scored only 17 points combined in the first half of those games. The Ravens have scored 36 points. Chargers have also scored 0 points in 5 of their last 8 first quarters. The Chargers are not a good first half team. The way that they play is almost like we want Rivers to keep stacking up his fourth quarter stats. Like it takes them a while. They've proved it all year. It takes them a while to get started.
Yeah.
Baltimore, however, they play like the Celtics in the third quarter, where they just get stagnant. And I feel there's a lot of feeling out in the third quarter almost. And that maybe that can be pointed at for Jackson's inexperience, or I don't think really, honestly, I don't think maybe it's anyone to blame necessarily. It's just the opponents that they've played have been good second half teams. That's something to look at for this matchup. Is the first? It's once the second quarter ends, don't point the finger at the winner yet, because this is going to be a good second half game. This Chargers defense figured out Baltimore in their last matchup. They didn't stop the run all the way. I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but they didn't stop the run completely, but it was enough to make the Baltimore honest, basically make them play honest. Man, I feel like if they run more like man coverage this week against the wideouts in Baltimore and have Joey Bosa, right? That's their have Joey Bosa. What I noticed in their I was watching a little bit of the film. What I noticed in their last matchup is they had him run a lot of spy. And they pretty much had him run adjacent to whatever the option was going to be. So he was always on the option, and it did hold Lamar pretty well. So I feel like the defensive scheme, it holds Baltimore pretty well. So if they can force Lamar to make throws, they might have a shot. However, and I'll move it to you guys right now if we want to make some closing thoughts on this game. However, this could be a coming out party for Lamar Jackson. I know a whole season already has been. But this could be the game where everyone says Lamar's in the air. He's been good, but he hasn't been amazing. This could be his, all right, watch this. And he puts on a fantastic game in the air against a really good Charger secondary. So those are just some things to consider. Can the Ravens be big enough to stop Phillip Rivers and this Chargers team when they're on a mission? It's hard for me to count out Phillip Rivers. I don't know. I'm at a toss-up. I think it's going to come down to like a field goal or a touchdown on the last drive in this game. It's going to be, honestly, which defense is big enough. Which defense is going to be big enough to stop a high-caliber quarterback, especially in Phillip Rivers like that. I'm going to take a hot take. I'm going to go with Los Angeles tonight. This is a hot Baltimore team, but I think they can be big enough to stop Baltimore. Any closing thoughts, guys?
I'm just sitting here waiting for someone to run a 5-2 against the Ravens. See how that works. Put 5 down linemen on there and be like, run us now, idiot.
I mean, Baltimore pressured Rivers so much in their last game, and he really struggled against it. And he honestly hasn't really been playing all that well in the past couple of weeks anyway. So right. He has to come alive. This offense has to come alive if they want a chance to win this game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to this game too. I would be interested too if the Ravens end up wanting to use Flacco at all in any packages at all in the game. I don't think they would.
Just that bum out of there.
No. I don't think. I mean, he's been good in the playoffs, but I don't know. I mean, you just never know in the playoffs.
This is Lamar's team.
Yeah. I know Flacco's pretty pissed off.
Here,
backing him up, but
this is something else to consider. Since Lamar Jackson made his start, he hasn't thrown more than 25 passing attempts a game. That's so heavy. I wouldn't even say that's how heavily they rely on the run. They just have a balanced offense. So if
they have a run-heavy offense, but I mean,
it's the RPO style that the game is turning into.
I love it too. Yeah. I'm a huge fan, and also this is my last point. Chicago has the best defense in the NFL, but Baltimore is right there with them. This defense is lethal. So
I think they have the best scoring defense in the NFL. Baltimore does. They're
so good. Yeah. So I don't know. I said Los Angeles, and I'm sticking with it, but I only because I think Phillip Rivers he's on a mission right now. He wants his ring. So we'll see what happens. I'm really excited for this one, especially for Sunday afternoon. So
before we move on, I want to go ahead and just say I'm going to give props to John Harbaugh. He's done a stupid good job coaching this year. I just looked it up on Google. Apparently the Dolphins are trying to trade for him. There are talks among the organization that in the offseason they want to actually put together a trade package.
Broncos too.
Well,
John Harbaugh in Miami.
The Broncos are linked to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be huge.
But the Ravens are wanting 2 first-round picks for him. So I don't know if any team's going to do that.
Yeah. He's a great coach, and I think there was talks about him earlier this year getting like being scrutinized in Baltimore, and that was just stupid. This man is one of the best coaches in football.
Yeah, I love John Harbaugh. It'll be good. All right, last matchup of the wild card: Eagles versus Bears. Ooh. What you guys think?
I cannot bet against Saint Nick, dude. Nick Foles, are you kidding me? Even if, like statistically and based on scheme, the Bears have them beat everywhere. Yeah. I don't even care. Nick Foles is gonna go in there, gonna throw for like 350 yards and like 3 touchdowns, and the Eagles are gonna win this football game. Mitch Trubisky I think he's gonna have a rough game. Mm-hmm. The Eagles defense has come alive in the past couple weeks, and Mitch Trubisky, he can beat you on the ground, but he continuously struggles beating you through the air. And I think he's gonna struggle in this game. Mm-hmm. And when it's cold, I want to make a point when it's cold. When it's really cold outside, people say the Bears have an advantage. Oh, in Chicago. Mitch Trubisky has been horrible in the cold. He's thrown like 9 interceptions and 2 touchdowns in cold weather, like freezing cold weather. Dude is not a good cold weather quarterback. And I think he's going to struggle in this game as well. And I think it's going to be, you know what? It'll be close in the first half. I think in the second half, Mitch is going to throw a couple picks. The Eagles are going to score a couple touchdowns, and it's going to be they're going to have a big lead. I think this is going to be the game where people are just like, what is happening? And Nick Foles is going to beat them, but they're going to win by like at least 14 points, if not more. Yeah. I honestly think so.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think it'll be closer, but you can't count out the magic of Saint Nick. It's like, when you look at the matchup, everything favors the Bears. It seems like, but it's just like it's the Eagles. It's Nick Foles again. It's the same thing as last year. I mean, come on, man. It's like you gotta go with him.
Just roll with it.
Yeah. I don't know about Mitch in the playoffs because I haven't seen him yet. We'll see how he does,
Yeah.
but it'll be cool. I mean, it's gonna be cold. We know that. Nick has played well in the cold. He's been here before. They just went to the Super Bowl last year. I think they got this game. Close one.
Yes.
Tell
On
us.
all of that.
Tell us.
You guys remember the story of King Midas, the Greek mythologist story of the king. Everything he touched was gold. I know there was some big conflict in that story at the end. Not tomorrow night, not tomorrow afternoon. Saint Nick is here to stay. Even if he gets traded, he's here to stay. This is going to be like you guys just said. Look, Philly's not supposed to be here. They are not supposed to be the sixth seed in the playoffs, let alone, or they shouldn't be in the playoffs at all. Grant, from how the season they had, the defending champs, where it was just going to be another, Madden cover type of story. Like, oh, well, all right, it was a good run. See you in the playoffs in a couple of years, but Philly's back. They pose a real threat to the best defense in the NFL. This is a really big, healthy offense, especially on the offensive line. This is what I've noted. Like, everyone on the offensive line is huge, and especially over the last couple of weeks since Foles took over, they've given him so much time in the pocket to make decisions. When you get someone like Carson Wentz, who is a better out-of-pocket runner than Foles, it sometimes opened up a lot of space in the A or B gap for linemen to come in and rush and take him out. And that sucked. One, because I like Carson Wentz, and two, he really struggled in those moments. Not Nick Foles. Nick Foles is so composed in the pocket, and he runs when he needs to, not just, oh, look, an open lane. Like, he finds, especially with Doug Peterson, when they got Alshon Jeffrey early on, I knew that he was going to be a real threat because they love those midfield passes, like especially those like slot crosses. They're a big fan of those, and that's something that Foles really excels in. So like something that I was looking at though, like it's one, as we kind of talked about already, it's so hard to discount Chicago's defense because they've been killing it all year. The secondary has been good for years now. They've really been good they've shut down Aaron Rodgers on multiple occasions, but even before this year. Then they got the big defensive line, and just the front seven as a whole is huge. But it's not going to be enough to stop St. Nick. I'm excited for this game. I'm really excited because a lot of people are like, yeah, Philly's going to win, but a lot of people don't mean it because it's like, well, logistically speaking, Philadelphia should not win this game. Logistically speaking, they shouldn't, but they're going to. They will, because this is just what happens in sports. This is a Cinderella story again. They're not supposed to be here right now. They shouldn't be in the ball, but they're going to get the prince again. So I am really excited. Another note, Philly's pass rush, English, sir, is really good. Not the same as last year, but once again, they weren't supposed to be good, and all of a sudden, they are. They're going to be a threat to Mitchell Trubisky. Matt already said it. I'll reinstate it. He's going to have a bad game. It's not going to be a good time for Mitch tomorrow. Philly wins. Nobody knows why, but Philly wins tomorrow. And
they have all the momentum coming in here too.
Yeah.
Ending the year, beating the Rams on the road. They beat the Texans, and then they shut out the Redskins, their rival, to make it to the playoffs and get rid of the Vikings. I mean, they have all the momentum right now.
I want to say real quick though, two things. One, the Bears made a huge mistake last week. If they just let the Vikings win, they'd be playing the Vikings right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why didn't they just bench all their players and be like, beat us? That's fine. They're a much better team than the Vikings. Like, I don't know.
Was it more of like trying to get like the Vikings, their rival, eliminated?
Yeah.
Well,
it seems to be that case.
Matt Nagy said that they just like to win. That's pretty much what his explanation was.
Right. But now you've opened up this door for Magic to take hold of the league and Nick Foles to beat you.
It's gonna happen.
Idiot. But also, I understand that you want to win games. You don't want to voluntarily.
That's a tough situation.
What I would have done personally, I don't know if this has even ever been done. I would have went to halftime winning and be like, "We're gonna give up."
Start throwing picks.
No, forfeit.
Oh, just
Just forfeit the game. Be like, guys, we can beat this Vikings team. We're better. We've proved it in the first half. We'll beat them next week.
But would that give the Vikings momentum in that case?
No.
They're like, oh, well, they don't think we're good enough. So,
well, sure, give them bulletin board material, but I don't necessarily think it'd be that big.
Can you imagine being if you were a good team and you go out there and it's like, if you're looking at the team and they're like, we're gonna lose, we're forfeiting because we want to play you because we can kick your ass. Like, I would feel as a head coach and like, well, thanks, but now I think we want to beat you next week, but I'm just what? Like that any good man would look at that and be like, fine, we'll just go out there and beat your ass in the playoffs next week. But if Chicago was smart, they meet every matchup and they would have freaking creamed Minnesota. They probably would have made this one the Saturday afternoon game because it wouldn't have been a contest. It would have been Chicago. It makes me so. I watched that game and I'm like I sent out a tweet and I got a lot of people that were like, no, like you have to look at this, like he wants to win and he wants to take out his division rival. Fair. It's a fair point. But strategy, you're allowed to use it in the NFL and in sports. But teams don't do it, and it makes me so upset because it's such a good matchup for Chicago, and they didn't take advantage of it. Now they're going to lose.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. But another point real quick before we move on about Carson Wentz. There's been a lot of talk about, obviously people know he's a better he's a better athlete, he's a better player overall than Nick Foles. Mm-hmm. But he has an issue with following the scheme. And it's a really big issue. I watched a lot of Eagles football this year, and he has a really big issue. Like this first sign of any pressure, he'll immediately either run out of the pocket or just immediately throw it to Zach Ertz, regardless of the coverage. Mm-hmm. And he has a hard time believing in the scheme. He'll have Alshon Jeffrey, and he's gonna get open if he just throws him the ball, and he doesn't throw him the ball because he's like, yeah, but there's a safety behind him, and it's like, yeah, but he's Alshon Jeffrey. He's like 6'4". You got to spread the ball around because when you spread the ball around, that makes the defense play honest, and then you can run the football. And that was a big issue they had with Carson. And Carson's a better player, but he's got to believe in the scheme.
Yeah.
Any quarterback, he has to believe in the scheme. This isn't an issue that a lot of quarterbacks have because they play for an actual university with an actual head coach. He plays for North Dakota State, where he's literally a superstar. He does whatever he wants. He's far and away the best player in the entire division. Not even the team. In the division, he's the most talented person in the division. So he doesn't have a lot of experience with listening to a coach and making sure you follow his scheme and play it, play the quarterback position with your brain, not just playing it with your abilities.
Yeah.
He's got to learn, because if Nick Foles can lead them to another Super Bowl, there's going to be real talks in Philadelphia, man.
There should be.
Yeah. There's going to be real talks. This is a fantastic team, and Carson Wentz can't get the best out of them. So
Wentz would rely on the tight ends more than anybody else. He would just keep throwing it to Zach Ertz.
Exactly.
Every time. He wouldn't give it to Alshon. Nick Foles gets it to Alshon, to Ertz, to everybody. He spreads it around. That's why they're succeeding. He fits better with the scheme that they have right now than Wentz. Wentz is a better player, but it would be interesting if the Eagles do go far. I don't know what to do.
That is a conversation that should be held, because even when Wentz, the team really, they weren't like, oh, thank God Foles is back. It was a sad moment when Wentz got, downgraded for the rest of the season to being out. But you saw in that next week, it was the first drive that Foles played, and the team's like, oh, let's freaking go. We're going to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And they were not supposed to make the playoffs this year. They were out of both the NFC East and the NFC as a whole. So the team looked rejuvenated when Foles came back in, and that again, like you guys are saying, that's something that needs to be considered in the offseason is who's our guy,
Look, Cam struggled with this for 4 years though. Yeah. Cam Newton in Carolina, he struggled with following a scheme because he's always been the best player. And then 2015 happened, and him and Kyle Shanahan, or not Kyle Shanahan, but him and his offensive coordinator, just basically were able to work together for the first time in his career, and they blew defenses out. And then he hasn't really been able to reciprocate that, but again, it takes some young guys a while to start trusting. Because it's like you have this like 60-year-old guy, and you're like this 23-year-old hotshot quarterback, and you're just like, yeah, I got this, man. I'm Carson Wentz. I don't need to listen to him. And it's like, you do though. Like, he knows a lot about football.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it takes a while for young guys, and I think he'll get there. But it's interesting because I think next year Nick Foles is going to leave, and I think that team will make the playoffs, and the Eagles will not make the playoffs. And it's going to be like, what happened?
Or if the Eagles somehow win the Super Bowl, does Foles just go out and just retire right there?
No.
Back-to-back Super Bowls, be done.
He can get a big. I understand your point, but he can get a big contract this offseason.
That's true.
Especially with how good quarterbacks are paid.
Yeah.
And he has been, for how well he's actually performed in Philadelphia, he's been really underpaid. He got money to go to the Rams, but he only got paid like 2 years. Or 2 years with the Rams. So, I mean, he hasn't made nearly as much money as guys like Sam Bradford and guys like that.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, Matt Stafford, a lot of guys in the league. So, I think he's going to go to a team I think the Cardinals are set on Josh Rosen, but I don't know. I think he'll go somewhere and make a lot of money.
Speaking of money for quarterbacks, the interesting stat: the top 6 the highest paid QBs in the league right now, none of them have made the playoffs this year. It goes to show you, it's crazy.
It's not how you build a football team anymore. Sorry, Zach.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I mean, I'm full on board with that bull crap right now. If the listeners should go back to the last, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Matt went off on mediocre quarterbacks and realistically mediocre quarterbacks getting these big contracts and how that's a problem. Go back and listen to that segment we had because made a lot of good points. Matt made a lot of good points, and it's evident this week where you're seeing it. All these quarterbacks get the big contracts, and they didn't take their team to the playoffs, which the general managers paid them to do. So
dude, the Vikings are going to get even worse.
Yep.
They have 3 more years of this, and a lot of their young guys are coming off of their rookie contracts.
Yep. Bad.
The Vikings are going to be so bad in 3 years.
No money and no quarterback to lead them.
Oh man.
Bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
So, yeah, lot of. It's gonna be a good weekend. I'm excited for the games. We haven't talked about basketball in a while, and I know we wanted to talk about the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
How they are just blowing it on defense right now.
They're not playing great basketball, man. You got all the guys healthy again, so they're putting up big points, putting up big boy points. But they gave up 135 to the Rockets, I think 2 nights ago. Mm-hmm. And Max Kellerman broke it down, and it's kind of foolish. He just kind of did it because it's everybody knows the Warriors are probably going to win again.
Sure.
But he essentially went on The Jump or something, and he broke down all the stats as to why the Golden State Warriors are actually barely a top 5 team in basketball. You can argue they're not even in the top 5 teams in basketball.
They're not, yeah.
Because their defense is so porous. They have to score over 120 points a game to even win. And yeah, when the guys are hot, they can do that. But when you have to put up that many points to win a basketball game, you're negating the point of having all the superstars.
Yeah.
Because other teams can score 120 points and you're not scoring 120 points. So why do you have, 5 all-stars on your team? You can't do any better than because the NBA is at a point right now where you have so many good 3-point shooters. It's kind of stupid. I've been playing 2K, and it's ridiculous how much the game has changed in 3 years.
Oh yeah.
Because that's how much the league has changed in 3 years. You got these guys coming out of college, and they're 5 steps back from the 3-point line, and Trae Young's just boop. And it's what? This is the norm. This is the norm now. You have guys who just only practice 3-point shooting. And because of that, teams can now put up 120 points. Luka Doncic comes from overseas, and he's just spin around, whoa, boom, and he just making 35 points a game. It's ridiculous.
No, the big men can shoot too.
Yeah, Brook Lopez is shooting better than Klay Thompson this year. So, I don't know.
You know who has the best 3-point shooting percentage in the league? Curry. Seth Curry.
Really?
Seth
Are you
Curry.
serious?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Ooh.
That's amazing.
Not Steph.
Thanksgiving was probably awkward at
Curry.
Curry House this year.
Kidding me? It was probably awesome. Seth finally got to brag about something. You imagine his entire life, he's never been able to brag to Steph. His entire life, and now finally he's like, "Hey, Dad, you see who's leading the league in three-point percentage?"
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
He's actually having a good year.
Yeah.
Good for him.
It's been a good year.
But I think I don't know how the Celtics been doing.
Celtics are undefeated in 2019. I think we all need to.
They're big fans of Dirk Nowitzki. I know that.
Yeah, they.
Dude, I was actually really awesome. I was
cool.
watching the game last night, like begging. I'm like, Dirk, please make something. Do it.
He didn't score, did he?
Nope, 0 points. He was 0 for 8 from the field.
That's really bad.
Look, man, the Celtics. I'm gonna try to. Listen, I've got a history of being super biased on this show. I'm gonna stay calm today. The Celtics were coming back, man. Jaylen Brown has been on fire recently. He's back. Hayward's had 2 good games in a row. Even with Kyrie out, Scary Terry has come out and he's proved how good of a starting point guard he is.
Kyrie can't see.
What a shock! Even with Kyrie out, Gordon Hayward's putting up 35 points.
And that's a point. Yep, that's a point I wanted to make. I've had a lot of questions since Kyrie's been out. The Celtics. I'm not going to blame Brad Stevens for this because I don't think it's his fault. I think this is a Kyrie Irving situation. The Celtics don't know what their identity is when Kyrie's on the court. They switch back and forth between run ISOs with Kyrie and have him make plays or like by himself, and Kyrie passes the ball off too much, and the players it's literally like if you're playing with if I were on the court with Kevin Durant, we were playing 2-on-2, me and KD versus I don't know who, doesn't matter. I would never expect KD to pass me the ball. I'm like, You just do your thing. It's pick up. And then it's like if I were to if you were to run in and lob it over to me from behind the arc, I wouldn't know what to do. And be like, I was not prepared for this. Put it up. Of course it's a miss because I was not prepared for it. Nobody's prepared to get the ball when Kyrie's on the court. And then when they are, Kyrie's like, no, I got this. I'll drop 40. And it's like, okay, cool. We won. So it's like they don't know what their identity is. And I know Brad and Kyrie have gone through bit of an identity issue as a duo recently, and so this is something to consider. I know the Celtics. I'm not going to jump to conclusions yet. It's still really early in the season, and I know a lot of people look at basketball season officially starts after the All-Star break. That's when things start getting serious after football season ends. I'm not going to make conclusions until March or April, but they want Anthony Davis. They're trying to get Anthony Davis. Is that something to consider? Maybe letting go or trading Kyrie to make some cap room, letting him go to get AD. I don't know. It's just something they need to look at it. But I love Kyrie. He's still amazing. But the Celtics as a unit, the hospital Celtics, as we saw last night, looked a lot better, especially defensively.
Yeah.
Looked better.
When you play great defense, it transitions into fast break points.
Yep.
And it allows you to get easy buckets on the other end. See, that's the great teams. When teams are great, that's what they do. They not only do they force turnovers, but they'll stop you and they get momentum and they're able to get easy buckets. And the Celtics are able to do that when they have a defensive heavy lineup out there with Jaylen Brown, and then they have Jason Tatum and they have Gordon Hayward. They have guys that can get stops defensively, force turnovers, and get easy buckets. And that's the best way they can play game. That's the best way you can score in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know?
So I don't know. I mean, we're winning. We're winning, so I'm happy. But I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, because of the weird rules, Celtics can't trade for Anthony Davis until the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because I guess you can't deal first round picks in back-to-back years. It's called like the Siebert rule or something weird like that. But they traded the first round pick last year, so they can't trade the first round pick this year.
Yeah.
So the Lakers are the only team that realistically can get Anthony Davis this year, which is why a bunch of people are like, trade for him now. Because if you wait until the offseason this year, the Celtics probably got to get him. Like the Celtics have a lot more. Not only do they have a lot more draft picks, but they have Kyrie Irving they can deal. So if the Lakers wait until the offseason to get Anthony Davis or to try to trade for Anthony Davis, I think the Celtics might get him instead.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of talks about that people are like I think it was Bleacher Report that dropped a teams that could make a blockbuster deal, and when the Celtics were the number one team, and the three names they put up were Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
I saw those and I'm like, okay, take those names away and put in one in Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
You know New Orleans would be okay to get Kyrie over there. You know it because they need a point guard. And they're willing and throw in like 2 first-round picks. They've got like 6. How many first-round picks do they have? I think in total they have 6. Over the next 2 years, they have like 6 or 7 first and second-round picks. Like they are low. Danny Ainge is so loaded. He loaded the Celtics front office right now with draft picks. That they are more. They've got a championship team right now. They don't need those draft picks. They could let them all go and they'll be fine because they're going for with Jason Tatum especially and Jaylen Brown, this is a championship caliber team for the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So I am really excited. And if I were to pull up my phone one day over the next couple months and saw Kyrie Irving traded, I wouldn't cry. A couple months ago, I probably would have thought about it, but I would not be upset if I saw that. I love Kyrie. I love what he's doing. Can't wait to have him back. But I'm happier with the Celtics when he's off the floor. Sorry.
Ooh,
I feel the same way in the Heat with Dwayne Wade off the floor. To be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, like
love you, D Wade, but keep you our mascot instead.
You might make the All-Star team this year just because of all the fan votes.
Gosh, dang. Did you see that Derrick Rose is like 3rd in voting?
Yeah.
Luka
Doncic is
like
ahead of. I think Doncic is ahead of AD and Kevin Durant in the All-Star voting this year.
Yeah.
Crazy. He's like 2nd behind LeBron.
I hate fan vote.
I have another interesting headline though.
What's up?
We heard about Jimmy Butler with the 76ers and all the beef that's going on between him and Brett Brown right now. I don't know what is up with him, but they're 15-6 with Jimmy Butler on the floor, which is like that's good. And he's like trying to break up the big 3 there in the process. What is going on with Philadelphia right now and Jimmy Butler? What are they going to do? What do you guys think?
I mean, it's with this man. That's tough, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're in a tough position because they have guys they got stars, but the stars don't really work together.
It's like they gave up a lot for Jimmy. So do they trade him again?
I don't think they trade him again.
I don't know. They let the season go.
It's really tough, dude. I mean, Jimmy Butler's good. I don't think you get rid of him. I think that work. I think he can work there.
Must be something wrong with him in the locker room or something. Like wherever he goes,
yeah,
he's something wrong with him.
Let's be frank. He's just a pompous asshole. Like
he is.
He's a dick, and he proved it time and time again.
Yeah.
That it's almost like it drives me. Like again, I saw the report and I wasn't surprised at all. And it's almost as if he walks in and he says, "Why are we not undefeated since I got here?" And it's like, well, this is a 76ers team that emphasize the trust the process. And Jimmy Butler looks at it like, I am the process. Like
they've been better since he got there.
This was never your team to begin with. You were brought in to help the team, not to make it like if you're gonna give the label to anybody, it's Joel Embiid. It's his team, him and Simmons. So and JJ Redick, that's a team's team. You know what I mean? I don't like the 76ers, but I will give him that. That's a team that plays for each other, you know? And he walks in like, no, it's my show. And tries to switch everything up. So if he were to get traded, I'm sure we'd see another headline like this at a different city of Jimmy Butler calls out starting point guard saying you're trash. Like, come on, Butler, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
And he has a YouTube channel now, and it kind of like for a while it made me like, yeah, because you want to put yourself in the best light possible.
Sure.
So it's like it made me kind of like him a little bit more. Because he was like, he seemed like a normal dude. Maybe he just got unfairly Nope, absolutely did not get unfairly criticized. Dude's absolutely a prima donna. Like, and the Sixers are in a bad position right now because Ben Simmons is great, but you can't have a star on your team that doesn't get the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Like, Jimmy, that's an issue. That's the issue, honestly, is that Ben Simmons is the point guard, but he doesn't really know how to run an offense very well. And so what ends up happening is like he ends up trying to make plays, but he ends up having to ditch the ball at the last second to Jimmy with like 2 seconds on the shot clock. And Jimmy's just like, thanks. and then has to just go up a miracle shot consistently. And then Joel Embiid never gets the ball because Ben Simmons forgets he exists. And so Joel Embiid's talking trash in the media, just like, man, I should get the ball more, like I should do more. And that's on the point guard, again, because Ben Simmons is not a point guard. He's just a point forward that can't score very well and can't shoot free throws.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good player. Dude's like 20 years old, but he's not a win now player. He's one of those players kind of like Giannis in his like second year, where it was like he's gonna be great, but he's just not there yet.
Yeah.
People already put Ben Simmons in their top 10, and it's like all of his big games are when they lose. Like, he's not right now. He's not one of those players that like helps you win a basketball game. He makes good plays sometimes, but Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler both are guys that they're going to take over a game and they're going to help you win a lot more than Ben's going to right now. And that's, I mean, it's like 20. You got to grow. That's how the NBA works. Zion Williamson is not going to come in the league next year and be super efficient and help the team he goes to win basketball games. He'll have games where he puts up a lot of points and he's flashy and he looks good, but it takes guys a couple years. You know, that's just the way that it works.
It's a new league order. Well,
they need a guy like Klay Thompson, man.
Yeah,
like any team that has Ben Simmons, you need a guy like Klay Thompson, a star that's okay with just basically sitting and shooting, doesn't need the ball in his hands. They have JJ Redick, but they need like two of them. Realistically, you need JJ Redick and you need like another shooter for Ben Simmons to work.
Yeah.
Because it's tough.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm sure as soon as we post this, we'll see a new headline that Jimmy Butler chokes out Joel Embiid in a bar fight or something. I don't know. Hey,
before we close though,
what?
I want to see what are your guys' pre-playoff Super Bowl picks.
Oh,
who you got?
That's right.
Who you got making it to the Super Bowl? And
Matty Ice, you want to go first?
Yeah, dude, I got really, really basic. I'm gonna go ahead and go with like the main teams everyone thinks you're gonna get to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and say Ravens and Cowboys.
Is that a hope for, or what you actually think?
I'm joking. I'm gonna go with Saints Patriots.
Yeah.
The one we hope.
Saints Patriots, man. Everyone's like Patriots are done, and it's like, yeah, but Tom Brady.
They'll find the way back.
And I mean, Saints are fantastic. They have home field advantage all through the playoffs. If any team can go into the Superdome and beat them, it's going to be the Cowboys. But I don't think that's even going to happen, realistically.
No.
So I'm going Saints Patriots.
Pretty.
I got Saints Ravens. Got the Ravens going all the way.
And I can see the Ravens beating the Patriots. It's just that rookie quarterback, they have to go to Gillette Stadium. Lamar Jackson's got to go to New England and beat Brady in Gillette. I don't know if he can do that. But I kind of.
I think if they do go to the Super Bowl, they have to go through. They have to beat the Chargers, and they have to probably go through Kansas City, and then have to go through New England to be able to get there. But just the way that they're rolling right now, they have a lot of momentum. I don't know. I just have a feeling they're gonna go all the way. But I got the Saints winning it all.
What I want before I say what is probably going to happen, I want the defensive Super Bowl, the good defensive Super Bowl we haven't gotten in a very long time between the two best defenses in the NFL in Chicago and Baltimore. Ooh. That's what I want. I want a bloody matchup that, not literally bloody matchup, be safe, guys. I want a in the trenches matchup that doesn't get past like the 40-yard line of their each side, that if you want to get points, you earn points. I want that Super Bowl. We're not going to get it. We're going to get Patriots Saints. It's happening. We know it's happening. But I still have my opinions and they matter, people. So that's what we're going to get. It's probably going to be Patriots Saints. But I want to make one last point before we leave, before you guys want to make your final points if you have any. Nobody's been talking about the Rams for good reason, because they look sketchy right now. But that makes me a little nervous. It makes me want us to all start talking about the Rams again, just so when they lose, it's expected. But it makes me a little nervous that like we're looking at the Chiefs, we're looking at the Patriots, we're looking at the Saints. Like, those are the real number one are number 1 and 2 bye week teams. But I don't know. It makes me. I see Sean McVay just like sitting in his office, like plotting. Like, yes, nobody's talking about us. This is exactly.
Oh,
what
I'd be happy if I were them.
Kidding me? The Rams
awesome.
aren't plotting. They're watching film, trying to figure out how to have a good offense without Cooper Kupp there. That's what they're doing. They're trying to figure out how to be efficient without their most efficient receiver. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
because they have struggled offensively without Cooper there.
If Gurley doesn't show up, they don't produce. So.
And they need to stick with Gurley because again, he'll show up and then they just stop giving him the ball. So, yeah.
They pretty much only have 2 weapons in the air: Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods. Without Cooper Kupp, they don't have that other option.
Yeah, they don't have like the slot, the Beasley, the Edelman. They don't have. They need a guy like that.
You need that white guy in the middle.
And with that, Zach, where can they find us?
If you like the Lockdown podcast and our semi-racial comments, you can find us on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Stitcher. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. See you next week.